any change to a shape, point, or line, and we've already know that. Transformation is just a way that you change it. There's different transformations. We've talked about translations, we've talked about reflections, and today we're talking about rotations. All of those three, they don't change size. They're congruent when they change. Dilation is the one that's different, where it is not congruent when it changes. And dilation we're not going to do in this unit, but that's just the name of it, and we're going to do it later. And the reason we're going to do it later is because the size changes. All right, so when we talk about rotations, there's two directions we need to talk about. There is clockwise and there's counterclockwise. So if I take this graph here and I turn it this way, or I turn it that way, one of those is clockwise and one of those is counterclockwise. Okay? Easiest way to think about it is like, look at the clock. On my clock, you can see the red hand and it's moving to the right. So that means that's clockwise. Okay? The other direction would be counterclockwise. So if this paper is the paper that we have, if I want to do it clockwise, then I'm going to turn it to the right. Okay? If I want to do it counterclockwise, I'm going to turn it to the left. Okay, so let's mark that on this paper here. Clockwise would go like this way, around the circle. And counterclockwise would go the opposite way. You can put the arrows where you want to. That's just kind of the arrows to help us remember. Now, besides the direction, you're also going to have degrees that you're going to have to deal with. And you can actually use any degree that we want to. On all of the problems we're going to be looking at, we're rotating around 0, 0. We're rotating around the center. Okay? But we're doing it in a certain amount of degrees. And really there's just 4 that you need to know. So let's say that I started with this point. Okay? If I take that point 1 turn counterclockwise, so from here to here, that would be 90 degrees. So if I turn it just 1 time, that is 90 degrees. Okay? If I keep turning, instead of just once, I go twice. So I go to there and then I turn it again. That is 180 degrees. So 90 degrees is 1 turn. 180 degrees is another turn. How many are we adding every time? So if I turn it another time, that would be 270. And then if I turn it one more time to get back where I started, then that would be 360. Okay, so you need to kind of remember, okay, 90 is 1 time, 180 is 2, 270 is 3, and 360 is really the same figure that you started with. So it's just turning it 4 times, but the same thing that we started with. And you can go 90 degrees clockwise or 90 degrees counterclockwise. You can go either direction. Okay? Any questions so far? All right. What we're going to do next is we're going to draw this figure, and then we're going to rotate it all the different ways, and we're going to write down the vertices, and then we're going to try to make some kind of connection between all of that. Okay. So after we draw it, what we're going to do is we're going to turn it, and we're going to turn this piece of paper or the board or whatever it is that you have. We're going to turn that, and then we're going to come up with what our new picture looks like. Okay? So our first one says the pre-image. Well, the pre-image is just the coordinates here. So I'm going to go ahead and write those for you. C is 1, 2. B is 5, 4. And C is 3, 5. Okay, so it says 90 degrees. Notice with the asterisk here, rotations are counterclockwise unless otherwise noted. So if it doesn't say, if it says go 90 degrees, you know that means counterclockwise because that's the understood thing. Most of the time it's going to tell you what direction to go, but just in case. So here's our picture, and we're going to go 90 degrees counterclockwise. Okay? So that means that we need to go towards the left. Right? So we would get this picture. Now, the answer what happens is this is our new x-axis and this is our new y-axis. So when we turn it, that's our new answer. Okay, and that's what we're going to draw on here. Okay, so I'm going to take these points and I'm going to now draw the points on here. So I'll have -2, 1, -5, 3, and -4, 5. And the easiest way just to see it is to graph it. And I'm just going to write 90 degrees counterclockwise right there just to remember that that was what that one was. And I'm going to come over here to the side and I'm going to write those coordinates I just said. So you're going to see lots of patterns on these. And I'm going to teach you those patterns. Sometimes the patterns will be easy to figure out and sometimes they're not. Okay, so now we're going to go 180 degrees counterclockwise. Something I want you to realize with 180 degrees, look up here. If I take this and I turn it this way twice, and I take this and I turn it the other way twice, you get the same thing. For 180 degrees, it doesn't matter if it's counterclockwise or clockwise, you do get the same picture both ways for 180 degrees. And 180 degrees is basically just the original picture flipped upside down completely. And what it is it's a reflection on the y-axis and a reflection on the x-axis. It's both of the reflections that make 180 degrees. Okay, so I'm going to draw this picture. We have -1, -2. We have -5, -4. And we have -3, -5. Okay, and I'm going to write those coordinates over here. That wasn't right, that was -3, -5. Okay. Alright, very last one. 270 means that we need to take it 3 times or take it one more time. So I'm just going to start all over. There's the original. 90, 180, 270. So this is the picture that we get. That's the picture I want to draw here. So we have 2, -1. We have 5, -3. And we have 4, -5. So start with the purple. The purple's the pre-image. Okay? Let's look at the green. How does the purple and the green compare?
They're backwards.
They're backwards, and what else?
Negative signs on the X.
So the very first one's negative and the second one stays the same. Okay? So this is what happens. If the 3 is X and the 5 is Y, it becomes -y X. That's what that first one becomes. Okay? Alright, let's look at the 180. So that means we're looking at the purple and the blue. What happens there?
They flip
Look at the purple and the blue.
They flip again with the negative or the y-axis.
Nothing really
Just the
flips.
signs
It's just the
change.
sign changes. If you look at the purple and look at the blue, only thing happens is the sign changes. So, because we're starting at the original and then going to it instead of what another term would be. Okay, so look at 270 and look at the purple and the red. Well, they flipped over again, right?
And now the y-axis.
And so the x is now negative.
X, because we each flip.
Okay, so the way that you write that is y negative x. Now, these rules are only for counterclockwise. If you want to think of them for clockwise, you would have to figure out new rules. Okay? Some people like to memorize those rules. Okay? Some people are like really good at it and they're like, okay, I can do this by changing the values and changing the signs every single time. And some people memorize them. Okay? Personally, I think it's easier to graph whatever it tells me, turn it, and then write down the new coordinate instead of trying to memorize these crazy little rules. Okay? If you memorize the rules, this right here is really easy, the 3/4. But if you don't, no big deal. You can do it on here. So I want to do it on here. I want you to see the rules just in case it's helpful for you. But I personally think it's easier to draw. So I'm going to draw 3/4 on my paper. So there's 3/4. And this goes with, the first one goes with 90, the second one goes with 180, and the third one goes with 270. Okay, so if I take that point and I go counterclockwise, what's my new point?
Negative 4, 3.
Okay. Okay, start again. Let's go 180. So I'm going to turn it twice. 1, 2.
Negative 3, 4. Wait, negative 3, negative 4.
And then turn it one more time to make the 270.
4, negative 3.
I think it's really easy just to draw it on here and then turn it. Okay. The rules are just confusing if you try to memorize it. But if that helps you and if you understand it, then that is perfectly fine. So for number 1, we're going to rotate it 90 degrees counterclockwise. First thing I would do is I would draw it on here. And once you draw it on here, turn it. And then whatever you get, draw it on the answer paper. Okay? So on my paper, I'm drawing negative 1, 3. I'm drawing 2, 2. And I'm drawing 1, negative 5. Okay. There's my picture. Okay, it tells me I'm going 90 degrees counterclockwise. So I'm going to turn it. There's my new picture. This is my answer. I just need to draw that answer on the paper to show it. So when I do that, I have negative 2, 2. I have negative 3, negative 1. And then 5, positive 1. You can have both of the pictures on that paper if you want to, or you can just have the answer. Okay. So I drew it on my grid, and then I turned it, and then I drew that on my answer paper. Okay, let's try this very last one. It already has an X and Y for me, so I'm going to put the X and Y on here. Y is on the X axis at 5. And X is at 2, 2. All right. So that same picture is now on my paper. It tells me I want to go 180 degrees. So how much am I going to turn it? Just twice. 180 is twice. It really doesn't matter what direction because 180 will be the same. There's my new picture. That's my answer. That's what I draw on the paper. Okay? So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, negative 5, 0. And then negative 2, negative 2. And there's my answer.